The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm so excited about today's show. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is the Ask the Experts TV show. I'm your host, Steve-O, and we bring you the top people in the areas of health, legal, financial, and home improvement. One of the reasons why I say today is probably one of my favorite shows is I have sleep apnea. And I got to tell you, when you have sleep apnea, and besides the snoring, you have a machine that is so uncomfortable. Well, our guest today, our expert today, which she has now been with us several months now, we're going to give you, I guess the best way to do it is some new techniques that I'm going to start on next month. I'm so excited about it. Let me introduce you to our expert, Janet Bennett. She is a speech and language pathologist, and she got interested in snoring of all things. Good afternoon, Miss Janet.
Good afternoon. StopSnoringSouthFlorida.com. Go check it out.
Believe me, listen, and there's people that don't want to admit, Janet, that they snore. I mean, I have friends of mine who I know snore. They'll fall asleep watching TV, and you tell them you're snoring, and oh, no, I'm not. No, and I think I was one of those people too.
Yeah.
But this show, I am so excited having you, and you're on in our other markets as well. Before we get started, tell people about you and your practice.
Okay. Well, I am Janet Bennett, and I own Asheville Speech Associates, and I specialize in the treatment of tongue thrust and tongue exercises and how to stop snoring. And I'll tell you how that came about. One day, about the year 2003, so it's been quite a while, I was treating this 14-year-old football player who had a tongue thrust. Now, if you don't know what a tongue thrust is, right now, all you listeners, people who can see me or not, I want you to swallow your saliva. And when you swallow your saliva, I want you to think about what your tongue is pushing against inside your mouth when you swallow it. You've never had to think about that before. You may have to do it twice, but I want you to do that. And if your tongue pushes against your teeth, you probably have a tongue thrust. Okay. If your tongue pushes against the bottom of your mouth, you probably have a tongue thrust. But if your tongue pushes against the roof of your mouth right behind your upper teeth, then you're good to go. Okay. So anyway, I was treating this 14-year-old football player for tongue thrust, and we had 7 lessons of exercises that we were going to do once a week. And he was on his 3rd lesson. And his mom came into my office and she said, "What are you doing to Adam, Janet?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, he's always been the loudest snorer in the world. The windows at our house rattle. And it's just horrible." She said, "But now he's not making a sound." Well, I didn't know anything about snoring. I didn't even know he snored. I didn't even think to ask if he snored. I had no connection. But anyway, so I got on the computer. No, first of all, I talked to Adam and I said, well, tell me more. And he said, well, it's true. He said, I'm able to concentrate better in school. I'm making better grades. And then he said, and I run faster. Well, when he
Wow.
said he ran faster, I thought, this is too weird. What do tongue exercises have to do with running faster? So that changed my life. I got on the computer and I knew I was going to find that the treatment for snoring was tongue exercises. No, that's not what I found. I found, they lop off your uvula, or they want to break your jaw and move it back. I'm sorry, move it forward so that it makes your airway larger, or they want to give you this mask, scary looking mask thing with CPAP machines.
Yes.
Or they want to sell you a $6,000 dental appliance. And on top of
Yes.
all those things, and I was thinking, well, okay, if these things work, that's great. But then I found that none of those things really worked. Except now a CPAP machine, but if it doesn't work, it's only because the person really doesn't have it adjusted correctly and they don't give it time to
Right.
make it work. Okay. And those with
Exactly.
really severe sleep apnea, they've got to make that work. And so I'm glad you make yours work. I know you hate it. So we'll hopefully change that.
I mean,
Okay.
can you imagine Janet sleeping with a mask on? I mean, there's like two nasal, attached to it that go inside your nose. It is so uncomfortable, and if it's not in perfect, you have all kind of problems. But let me just back up. First of all, sleep apnea is very, very dangerous,
It is.
and I don't think people really give it much thought. But it is very dangerous. For what is the difference between sleep apnea and snoring?
Okay, that's a great question. So you actually start out breathing through your mouth when you sleep. You lay down, you're breathing through your mouth, and then the air is going in and out of your mouth, okay? And it's going past that uvula, that thing that hangs down in the back of your throat. And that's what makes the sound of snoring. It's just really the airflow, okay? And as a person gets more used to mouth breathing and just really breathing through their mouth all the time, they might get louder with the snoring and louder, and
Yes.
that just means it's leading to sleep apnea. Now, what's sleep apnea? Sleep apnea is when you stop breathing. You literally close up your throat with your tongue. It falls down and blocks your whole airway, and you stop breathing. Okay. And when a person has a sleep study, they might say, well, you stop breathing 66 times an hour. Well,
Right.
that's huge. You think about your heart. What's it doing every time you stop breathing? Okay. So that could wear a heart out if you stop breathing 60 to 80 times an hour. Okay. So that's the difference. I mean, snoring is not considered a medical condition, even though I think it should be. Just because of the things it can lead to, and it's also supporting mouth breathing. So what the listeners are going to learn through my shows with you, Steve, is that mouth breathing is a real culprit for this problem of snoring. And if a person has a tongue thrust, y'all know what that is now. So if you have a tongue thrust also, that means you're not swallowing correctly. And so they are all tied together, the breathing, the sleeping, and the swallowing. And so all of those get treated. So when you go to the Stop Snoring South Florida .com site, you may automatically quickly see something about tongue thrust. Don't let that deter you at all. Okay, it's all together, and it all has to be treated. But I discovered that since your tongue falls down while you're sleeping, blocks the airway. So what if we do something to prevent the tongue from falling down? That sounds very easy, right?
Yeah, but it's not though.
Well, it can be. It can be. It's not. So what's happening is when you use a CPAP, your tongue isn't learning anything. Your
Right.
muscles aren't changing. but it's keeping you alive. It's making it so that, well, yeah, it's making it so that your heart doesn't get worn down, and so that you feel halfway decent in the morning when you wake up, because you're getting better sleep. But what you learn is that you will strengthen your tongue muscles. Tongue's made up of many muscles. So my exercises will strengthen it, and it'll make it more toned. It'll train your tongue to live up there on the roof of your mouth, and it'll teach you to breathe through your nose. It's that easy. And my program has 7 lessons, and it takes you from start to finish through the whole thing.
When you say 7 lessons, what time period are you talking about?
Okay, so each lesson has different tongue exercises. And we start with the tip of the tongue, go all the way to the back of the tongue by lesson 7. We do 1 lesson a week. You have to practice your exercises. The exercises might take 10 minutes, okay? If you don't practice your exercises 2 times a day, it's not going to work, period. Okay. Some people, when they do an exercise, like in yoga or something else, you do an exercise, you say, oh, I can do that, so I don't have to do that anymore. But that's not the way muscle training works. You have to do it, even though you get really good at it. You've got to do it enough to change the way it functions.
You know how people are today. It's like how soon, how fast. When can you start noticing a difference or hearing a difference?
Right. Okay. Well, the spouse gets really happy whenever that happens.
Right.
So this question depends on the person. Okay. Now we
So
only
everybody's different.
7. Is that 7? We only have 7 weeks to work, right? So some people very quickly, within the first 7 days, they tell themselves, I am not going to let my tongue push against my teeth when I swallow. I'm going to keep it up on the roof of my mouth, no matter what. And it just kind of drives them crazy immediately. Okay. And that's the kind of attitude that's going to get you there quicker. And when you do that for even a week, if you keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth for a week, you will start seeing a change, feeling a change in the way you wake up in the mornings, because it will start carrying over to when you're sleeping. Okay. And later on, I think it's lesson 4, 3 or 4, we start training you, learn how to train your subconscious mind to keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth so it doesn't fall down and block your airway. So I've got all of this figured out. It's all in a row. It all happens, 1 step at a time. And so it just depends on the person. If they're really doing their exercises, that will make it happen quicker. The great thing now about my site, whenever you get the program, you have access to me doing the exercises. So you'll see me sitting in my office at my desk, and I'm waiting for you to come on in and join me to do your exercises. You don't have to read the exercise. You don't have to know how to do them. You just copy me for that 10 minutes or whatever time it takes. And then you're done until you come back a second time. Easy.
Janet, what I think is so amazing is your success rate. Tell people what the success rate has been so far.
Yes. Okay. So when I discovered Adam stopped snoring with only 2 weeks, okay, so that's a good example, only 2 weeks of exercises, I knew that I had to save the world. But how do you do that? Okay. So I decided very quickly I had to come up with a program, a special program for people who snore. And I wanted it to be so easy that the person didn't necessarily need me, but they needed to understand how to do the exercises all by themselves. But here again, I just said I've added now so that I can help you do that. But so I found 86 people all over the United States. This was back in 2003. And they agreed to be my guinea pigs. And so I went through all the exercises with them over a 7-week period for each person. They helped me word the exercises so they could understand it better. It was great. It took me 8 months to get through all those 86 people. 94% stopped snoring.
That is amazing.
That gives me goosebumps. I mean, because
That
you won't
is,
find that kind of percentage rate, success rate out there with anything. Yeah.
I want to tell because I'm so excited about starting. We're going to start uh, around the 1st of June. And
Okay.
I got to tell people, again, if you have gone through, like I do, sleep apnea, uh, it is, it's not a comfortable way to live. And the fact just knowing that you literally stop breathing.
Right.
And I know, Janet, there's so many people who won't admit to snoring. They're embarrassed about it, but they
Right.
really have no reason to be
Right.
embarrassed.
I
But
know.
here's what I like about your program. What do you have to lose? I mean,
Right.
the CPAP machines are expensive,
I know.
and you've got to go through sleep studies. And,
Right.
gosh, if, and I keep saying if, because you know what? that's one of the reasons why I loved getting you on my show was I really believe in this, and I
Well,
haven't even
good.
started yet.
Okay. I'm glad. Now, let me say this. We've just made a big change on the website. When a person purchases the program, they get everything that they need to know how to do this. But I've just added in a free 45-minute consultation with me via Zoom.
Wow, that is really, really nice.
And it would be worth, you purchase the program, then you and I make an appointment, we meet on Zoom, and I can kind of evaluate you and make sure that you are going to understand how to do everything. And it's the people that have done it already say it's just totally worth it. And there's no extra cost for that. So that's a double good thing.
Well, I first of all, we're educating people now, but I think I really want to reach the people. Listen, if someone tells you you're snoring, you're probably snoring, whether you want to admit it or not. I
Right.
mean, I've been through all that, and it's tough on the relationship. But
Yes.
if there's a way that there's techniques that you can do, and Janet can teach you these techniques, it is so much better, less expensive than
Yeah.
going to CPAP. Or you know what? Or like you said, a lot of these dentists do the the apparatus, and those are very expensive too.
Hmm. They are. They are. Let me just share right quick, if I can, something um, physical about your tongue. Your tongue, like I said, is made up of a bunch of muscles, and it has this ability, this ability to get suctioned inside your mouth. That's just part of what the tongue muscles on the top middle of your tongue do. And so it makes sense if a person has their mouth open, mouth breathing while they're sleeping and they're snoring, the gravity is going to start pulling the tongue down. And because of that suctioning ability of those muscles, that's what keeps the tongue attached in the airway and so hard to get it out, so that not until your heart stops beating does your brain say, cough it up, and you snort and wake yourself up. So think about this. Picture this. For now, instead of your tongue going down into your airway, you, with my exercises, are going to learn how to get your tongue to suction to the roof of your mouth while you're sleeping. And you are literally going to be keeping it from going in your airway. I said at the beginning, all we have to do is make sure the tongue doesn't go down in the airway. So there you go.
Wow, that is, Jenny, you could be, I know with me, a lifesaver, but I want to tell people out there, and I think that, because you're in North Carolina,
Hmm.
um, tell people how you do this because they're going to be like today, they're going to be in South Florida. Tell people how you work this out where they don't have to come into your office.
Oh, well, we do Zoom. Okay, so you purchase the program and you have it's all digital. You have access to everything. So you don't need me. Okay. However, like I said, I've now added, I'd love to meet everybody. And so I've added, that consult. And of course, we could have as many consults as a person wants. But we do it via Zoom. Yeah. And it's super easy. No matter where you are, it just doesn't matter.
You,
So
you know
I
what?
do want to say one thing though.
Go ahead.
I know there are a lot of people out there. I know you're wondering what that is. A lot of people are out there with this really large tongue. Okay. I think that's one of our biggest Q&As that gets sought after online. What do I have a big tongue? What am I going to do about this big tongue? And a lot of people. So it's not unusual, really. But in order to make your tongue live on the roof of your mouth, it's a smaller space up there. So we've got to make your tongue skinnier. How are we going to do that? A woman came to me and she said, Janet, my doctor wants to shave off the sides of my tongue, but I thought I'd try your program first. Good idea. She didn't
And
have
you know what? It's
to shave
common. I
off.
didn't realize, Janet, how common thrust is.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. So I just want to say that I invented a way to help make your tongue skinnier. This is a tongue stick. It has two different ends to it. There are three little balls on the end and a triangle there, but that each end does two magical different things. But using this tongue stick in coordination with your tongue and some isometric exercises, your tongue will get skinnier so it fits better up.
That's amazing. Yeah, when I have a dentist in another market, and somehow thrust came up, and he said, "Yeah, we treat that all the time. A lot of people have that." It was like,
Right.
I've never even heard of it before.
Right. Well, a lot of people lisp, and you've heard them say
Yes,
sun for sun. That
right.
person is a tongue thruster. Okay. A lot of people who have a tongue thrust don't lisp though. So you don't always have a lisp.
You're a speech pathologist, also.
Right. Right.
Did did what you learned about speech pathology, did it help you at all with sleep apnea?
Oh no, no, no. I have a master's degree in speech pathology, but they didn't teach me anything about tongue thrust even. I had to learn that on my own out when I was in the field, when I had 24 tongue thrusters knocking on my door, and I said, "Oh my goodness." So I had to learn what to do, and I ended up making up my own program that worked.
I'm sitting here thinking of questions, being having sleep apnea, and you, I got to tell you that a lot of times people with sleep apnea have high blood pressure, overweight, um, and I think there's people out there right now going, you know, I don't know if I buy into this or not. I
Right,
am telling you that if you can find a way like this that's going to keep you from going on a CPAP machine, it is so well worth it. If
right,
you've got your parents, relatives, friends that snore, uh, first of all, you probably going to want them to get a sleep test. But I mean, I would definitely contact Janet first. You have
right,
nothing to lose. I mean, it's not, gosh, Janet, I've seen some CPAP machines out there that are so expensive.
right. I know, I know. And
And
there's so many things the mouth breathing causes so many problems that people have no idea that they're connected, such as a lot of people sometimes feel like there's something that gets stuck in their throat. Now that right now, I know a lot of people are going, yeah,
Yeah,
what's
I know.
causing that? Well, that's because you have a weak swallow. When you swallow, your swallow isn't strong enough to push whatever is going down, to push it down hard enough. And some little crumbs might, just sit here and wait for a little while to bother you. So that's something, like I said, you would never associate with what we're talking about. And also having a bloated feeling, different things with your stomach, headaches, all kinds of things get fixed at the same time.
And I think one of the other things I noticed too, I was tired all the time. And it's because you do not have a normal night's sleep. Your body is constantly waking you up when you stop breathing.
Right. And you can't get into REM
Go
sleep,
ahead.
Steve. When you mouth breathe,
Yes,
you can't get into REM sleep.
exactly. I'm listening, folks. I got to tell you, I am listening to Janet, and I'm going, I have seen this movie. I trust her so much, and like I said, and we'll be giving you updates on how it's doing for me starting next month. And I got to tell you, um, having sleep apnea now for probably 10 years, I've never been so excited about starting something new. I think what you have done is, and we're using the shows to get the word out there. I mean, this is God sent. That's all I can say.
Yes, it is. It is. And I'm excited about you too. You are going to have to do your exercises probably more than what I ask you to do. It
I
won't hurt.
probably am because I
It
know what
won't.
it's like to be on a machine. And
Yeah.
if there's even a 5% chance that
Ah,
this is going to work for me,
we
I'm going
can't
to
stop
do
at that. No, we can't stop
it.
at 5. No.
I love your how
It's going to
positive
be
you are.
great. It's going to be
So
great.
let's first of all, we've been running your phone number down on the screen. For those of
Yes.
you who are listening on radio, let's give everybody your phone number.
Okay, it's area 828-285-8814.
And that website address.
It is stopsnoringSouthFlorida.com. So
Oh,
glad to
I
be there
love that
today.
address. I love
Yes.
that address. Okay, so we're going to see you again next month here for South Florida. And Janet, I love you. I can't wait to get started. And thank you so much. Have a
You're welcome.
wonderful, wonderful week. Janet
Thank you for
Bennett,
having me.
you're welcome. Well, that I'm telling you, folks, you should absolutely just give it a shot. I'm going to do it. That's for sure. Um, we're about out of time. We're going to be with you again next week with more of our experts. We've got some great experts coming up. We want to thank you for listening. Tell your friends about our show. And if you've got you can text us at 954-336-3767 if you've got a show idea or if you'd like to come on our show. We'll see you again next week. Everybody have a great weekend. Go Heat.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.